Get ready to immerse yourself in a world of vision, inspiration, belonging, and empowerment. Brought to you by Naturals2Go, the VIBECast is your gateway to realizing your entrepreneurial dreams. In each episode, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit, offering you the tools and insights you need to turn your dreams into reality. We're all about fostering a powerful vision, sparking inspiration, nurturing a sense of belonging, and providing the empowerment you need to thrive. So sit back, relax, and get ready to dive into the vibe. It's time to take your entrepreneurial journey to the next level. Thank you for joining us, and let's start living the vibe.
Welcome to VIBECast. This is Linda Ballesteros, and I am your host today. Thanks so much for finding some time out of your busy day to spend with us to learn a little bit more about Naturals2Go and how it's really a great, simple business model and how families are plugging into it. I recently read an article. You know that I'm always doing some research here. So let me read a little bit about this article. It says the benefits of a family-owned business. Not only does involving your kids in the family business foster stronger bonds, but it also offers valuable learning opportunities. From a young age, they can gain protocol skills, they can gain such problem-solving skills, communication, and financial literacy, which is so needed these days. These experiences will shape them into well-rounded individuals ready to tackle future endeavors. I just love that. That's what we're going to be talking about today with Tim Santiago. Tim, thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Linda. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
I'm glad for you to be here as well, Tim. So, Tim, I know that you're an owner-operator and you're also an account manager. Let's first talk about your background. What did you do prior to Naturals2Go?
Yeah, sure. So, seems like many years ago, out of college, I started in the oil and gas services business with Halliburton Energy Services as a field engineer. So I was the individual who would go out and lead a crew to perform the service that we were basically hired to do for anywhere from an independent, smaller oil and gas company to your large majors, Shells and Chevrons and things of that nature. Post that, I kind of moved into the management circuit, like most folks do, within the realm of Halliburton, and held various job titles, from business advisor to a sales consultant to just a shop manager, if you will. And encompassing all of that, I made a move from where I'm originally from, South Louisiana and Lafayette, to the Houston area where I currently reside.
You know, Tim, living in the South, because I'm in Houston as well. Either you or somebody you know is in the oil and gas industry, right?
Absolutely. It's such a major contributor to the economies on both sides, right? Be it South Louisiana and definitely Houston. Major drivers.
Yeah, definitely. So, when we talk about that transition, Tim, at what point did you say, maybe I want to leave that oil and gas industry, or were you downsized, or how did that breakup happen?
Sure. So seemingly almost in year one, when I got into the industry, there were certain things that transpired amidst the industry that kind of caused this cause and effect in terms of layoffs and rehires. And that really never stopped for, about the 10 to 12 years that I spent at Halliburton. And it was a difficult time to try to manage mentally more than anything. And I feel that I kind of aged rather quickly, constantly being worried about that. As soon after, I ended up starting a family. And, as anyone who has a family, they understand the burden of propping up a household and making sure you're providing for everyone that lives amongst it. But in my particular case, I decided to pivot from the major oil and gas services industry into a smaller company that was kind of up and coming. And this was about a year prior to COVID. And then essentially when COVID kind of reared its ugly head and really started to shut everything down, that smaller company didn't really survive that particular downturn and closed its doors. And in that particular case, I found myself very vulnerable and kind of lost as to what to do next. And kind of found myself in this path down Naturals2Go, primarily with the thought of I never wanted to kind of feel that feeling again of being lost. Should I go back into the corporate workforce and potentially have something like that happen again? I just didn't like that particular feeling, so I wanted to have something at least started, so that way I always kind of had some sort of.
Tim, I know that the oil and gas industry is very cyclical. And for those that are listening, if you don't understand, there are times when if you're working in that industry, you're going to have a pink slip with your name on it at some point. It may not be this week, it may not be this month, but at some point they can come in and completely close your whole department. Is that right, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. And it was something that was somewhat of a frequent occurrence in my particular case. And it was just something that really weighed on me from a day-to-day basis. And it really drove some of my decisions in terms of my career path, just to try to mitigate some of that risk that, essentially I would be exposed to if I went any particular route. Because there's always kind of that risk inherently, as you change jobs within the company, change locations, or turn down location changes or opportunities. And so it really is a difficult situation to try to navigate, especially, again, considering my age when I first started and not having gone through really anything like that. At all, and then basically it happening every seemingly 12 to 18 months. It was, an upswing or a downswing. And it was just something that my wife and I had discussions about. And it's really and truly just something that I just couldn't see myself trying to navigate for, another 30, 35 years until I kind of approached retirement age. Just mentally very challenging to try to navigate and get through. Day to day, month to month, year to year.
So, Tim, when you were looking for something, and that something that you were looking for was going to be more stable, was going to provide you something that you were more in control of the future, why was it that you gravitated towards Naturals2Go and that it checked some of those boxes for you?
So, in Naturals2Go's case, really couple of the key things that really attracted me to their business model was one, the analytical side of the business, the ability to track your data and your sales, as well as your inventory kind of real time with an app seemed to be kind of innovative in terms of what I understood the vending business to be. And I'm by nature, very analytical in that aspect. So I was intrigued by that. I was intrigued by the machine itself and how it looked, its appearance. I thought it looked, new and modern again by comparison to what I really understood the vending business to be. And by and large, overarching all of those particular attractions, I saw it very simply, Linda, as us humans needing to always eat and drink. Like we have to do that. We have no choice. in order to survive, we have to eat and drink. So understandably, there's a lot that goes into vending and how one's successful in the industry. But in terms of, again, mitigating risk, which was something I was very accustomed to doing at that particular time of making this decision, I said, well, I might not be rich, right? But in terms of, opening up shop and then having to close shop 60 days later, I would find that to be extremely difficult in this particular industry, given these particular tools and this particular equipment. And then to go along with that, it was just very comforting, although I understood how to manage a business at a very high level, tons of experience and training. I had no experience of managing my own business, right? So that initial help on the front end from Naturals2Go, just to make sure that things were kind of in order to get the business off the ground, was kind of that last check that said, really, what do you have to worry about, right? So all those things, but ultimately, like I said, just the safety of knowing that folks have to eat or drink. So if you provide good products and good locations, seemingly where folks are going to be in need, you should have a pretty good chance to be successful.
And it is very simple. It's a simple business model. It's a simple business to run. So simple that a lot of people actually have their young children participate. And I know that you have several young children that participate in some role or another.
Yes, I have two, and they are both co-owners, and they are both my boss, and they enjoy being that because they don't get that opportunity too much, right? And you mentioned how simple it is. By and large, it absolutely is. There are some things that can be a little bit challenging and some things you have to work through. But in terms of my two kids specifically, my daughter's 10 and my son is 8, and they know how to work the app. They know how to work the machine. They know how to load bins. They know what they're doing, and they kind of coach each other, which is to me the most fascinating aspect of all of this, right? Because sometimes I'll take my daughter, sometimes I'll take my son, sometimes they'll both come with me, and depending upon who was the last one that was with me, they'll be kind of coaching the other one who might have forgot a few steps on what needs to happen when we go to service the machine. So it's a fascinating thing to see, and it's heartwarming, right, to see that they have something in front of them that they're proud of, that they care about, and that they're intrigued by, right? I think we all kind of lose that a little bit as adults, that curiosity to life a little bit, right? And they see this machine and they see how it works, and it's all magical on its own, right? And they're just intrigued, and that smile that gets put on their face when certain things happen within the machine, or people come up and they take the money out of the machine. It's just a really neat thing to see.
One of the things that it mentioned in that article that I read at the top of the show is that it becomes a bonding kind of experience for the whole family. Do you experience that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we'll go into our product room, all four of us. We'll turn the music on. Even the family dog will come in there and come get in the way, running through our legs and all kinds of stuff as we're pulling product, getting ready to go to a location. We typically do one of our larger clients on either Saturday or Sunday, so that way we can get there first thing Monday morning. So it's just about every weekend, even while the kids are in school, that we're kind of huddled up collectively in the product room pulling products, so that way we can go on with our weekend doing other things. And it's a good time. It always is. We end up dancing, laughing, yelling at each other, falling over each other, running into each other, all those things, right? But I find to be kind of in my best space when that's taking place, really, because as you mentioned kind of at the beginning, there's a lot that's being taught without even being taught as we kind of go through some of those things. As they, again, look at the app, as they understand how to read these numbers, plus, minus, how to store bins, how to be efficient in some of the things that you're doing, because those are definitely applicable in so many other things in life.
Absolutely. Tim, as I mentioned, you're also an account manager. And for those that are not familiar with account manager's role with Naturals to Go, would you kind of explain a little bit about what you do when you help new owner operators and maybe how you help coach them through using some of your own experiences?
Yeah, sure. So I am account manager. I've been account manager with Naturals2Go since about midsummer of 2023 last year. And my primary function is to be that backstop for those just getting their business off the ground. Anybody who's kind of gone through this or something similar understands that, there'll be several nights leading up to, and then certainly during the process of starting your business or running your business where you're going to wake up in cold sweats, right? And just wondering, wow, did I take care of this? Or, oh my God, I forgot to take care of this. Or I don't know how to handle this problem. It's been, giving me so many issues for the last week, right? And I still can't figure it out. Am I ever going to figure it out? All those thoughts, or something similar along those lines, all go through all of our heads, again, as business owners. And so my particular role is just to be that support system for when folks find themselves there, right? Because inherently it's going to happen to everybody. It happened to me when I started my business. It still happens to me, running this business, right? So when folks kind of wonder what they did, right, we're there to be reassuring, and the fact that, myself, along with Naturals2Go and everyone else involved, is going to, support them along the way. And then also, kind of lead them down a path of how to accomplish being a business owner somewhat on their own, right? So in a lot of cases, you go and sit in a classroom and you're basically told the answer, right? Naturals2Go, the motto is trying to show them a way, right? Try to show them a way to figure things out somewhat on their own, right? So we're going to give them direction and a path to go down, basically suggest it, right? And then presumably they take that path, and those answers are seemingly there as they walk through them, right? So it kind of doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a classroom setting where, hey, here's the answers on the board, right? They're kind of teaching you, right, a mindset, a mentality, how to troubleshoot, how to problem solve, how to work backwards from certain issues, rather than essentially being handed, the answer to any particular problem that you have. So in my particular case, having the experience of, being in the business, I can work back from a lot of those scenarios with these owners. So that way they can kind of solve some of their own issues. And whenever they're like, hey, this is, I think that I'm here, then I can be that reassuring mentor for them that say, yep, you're there. You got it, right? You figured it out. You're good to go, right? And then in most cases, that allows me the opportunity to explain to them my situation and how similar to theirs is, to kind of give them that reassurance that, yep, you're there. You figured it out. In my particular case, here's what's happened to me, and here's how I solved it, and here how me solving it, you solving it are not exactly the same, but they're very, very similar. So you're good to go, right? And the more that happens, the more confident that they become in themselves and their business. And then from that point forward, really, the sky's the limit.
So you are actually helping them to be business owners, not just vending machine owners.
That's correct. So it's pretty much full suite, right? In terms of things you need to be looking out for. Some things that are mundane and sales tax, and then to literally breaking down the machine and fixing something, to strategically planning how to maximize the equipment you have with respect to what you need to financially get out of to make the business viable for you. Mm-hmm. So I'll sit with folks, we'll look at numbers, we'll look at P&Ls, we'll look at balance sheets, we'll look at sales, we'll look at pricing, we'll look at how the product's set up inside of the machine. We'll talk about frequency of visiting the machine, all those particular things, to try to put them in the best place to be successful. There's a lot of things that go into it. Everyone thinks that vending in particular is just this fly by night. I can do it no problem, anybody can. Reality is you can, but it's extremely difficult to be successful at a high level, right? And so when folks come this particular route, they're usually very decorated in their own profession, right? And they're coming kind of with expectations that they're going to be at that level as they are, for example, in their corporate life or their other business or something like that. And they're quickly humbled, usually. Usually they really are. But, given their history, again, it's our job to some degree to try to tie those things together to them, to show them that, yes, you can be successful, but you have to be willing to apply some of those skills that you've gained elsewhere, but also be willing to listen and take some of the coaching that we're here to provide. So that way, your learning curve isn't 3, 4, 5 years, whereby if you take that long, it's, you're probably on the back end of having to sell or being forced to sell because you're still not successful yet, right? So we're here to kind of shorten that learning curve, pass along that knowledge, that tribal knowledge, to have you successful at a much shorter pace than the majority of the folks who are going to try to go at it all on their own, watching 700 YouTubes or reading 500-page emails or websites and things of that nature. And that's how I got to where I was, right? With the help of everyone else. So it's by no means a one-man show when it comes to that.
Tim, I love your story, and I'm sure many people can relate to that. Let me just ask you this. If you could go back and do anything different, are there any different decisions you would have made? Would you have handled this transition from corporate to being an entrepreneur, owning your own business? Is there anything you would have done differently?
So I always think about those things, Linda. I try to refrain from putting too much thought into those kind of things because I'm a very live in the moment type of individual. But if I had to, I would definitely say that I would have went in full steam much sooner than I did, because in my particular case, as many, particularly in the vending industry, they come in with Naturals2Go and they start with a package and then they try to grow it while they're doing their current job when they come to Naturals2Go, and that's what I did. But it wasn't until about a year and a half ago where I really dove in and got serious and got committed to freeing myself and allowing myself to bear fruit of all the work that I've put in and all the training that I've received within Naturals2Go and outside, to see what exactly that was going to do. And to this point, in self-reflection, that's where I stand, because I feel pretty good and confident about where my business is now. And realistically, it was nothing compared to what it is now. And it's forcibly because of my commitment to the business itself, right? So if I would go back, I would have probably been a little bit more aggressive in my timeline to be all in on myself and the business.
Well, Tim, I really appreciate you sharing your story, and as passionate as you are about it, I must say that your annual review, your kiddos will probably give you a very high markings on this.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. There's some tough critics, but I'm very hopeful.
Again, Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much sharing, and I know that so many people will be able to relate. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Linda.
Absolutely. Very good. And so, folks, as always, I'm leaving you with this thought, this quote. It goes like this: as a parent, there is no greater satisfaction than seeing your kids work together. That's by Max Sanraman, and he is the founder of Nova Exporting. But that's exactly the situation that Tim described, the kiddos working together. So folks, thanks so much for joining me on VIBEcast. And until next time, let's go out and live the vibe.
That's a wrap for this episode of the VIBEcast. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all your favorite platforms to stay connected with the Vibe community. Until next time, keep nurturing that strong vision, fueling your inspiration, and embracing a sense of belonging and empowerment. Your dreams are within reach, so keep living the vibe.